Water they drink each day, most people answer, not enough. We know that we should drink more water, but most of us don't make it a high enough priority. In fact, many people are confused as to how much water a person is supposed to drink.
Mainly a lot of patients that come in, they have a lot of constipation problems, and it's because they don't drink water. And so it's very common when they come in. A lot of times they haven't had a bowel movement, sometimes only once a month, and that's hard to believe, how they've gone that long, but we see it all the time. And then I ask them, well, how much water do you drink? Well, maybe a glass, a day, maybe a glass of water a week. I drink a lot of tea, coffee, things like that, which is diuretic, so that makes them more constipated.
Most doctors will tell you that we should drink 8 8-ounce glasses of water per day. But is it a one-size-fits-all answer? Common sense would indicate that a 250-pound person would need more water to maintain their 75% hydration level than a 125-pound person. And what about someone who is very physically active or someone who works in a hot climate versus a person that is sedentary and perhaps stays indoors the majority of the time?
Think of the last time that you went out and exercised really hard. Maybe it was intentional at the gym, maybe it was unintentional, maybe you just went for a hike with some friends and got into a more serious hike than you intended. Think back to how you felt the next morning after that physical exertion. And many of you will relate to the person who could hardly roll out of bed. The muscles were screaming, everything hurt. And the reason for that is pain and inflammation, and that's caused by an accumulation of lactic acid and other metabolic wastes. The body was not able to eliminate those as quickly as they were being produced. So the end result is you don't feel good. End result is you're sick and you're stiff and you have joint and muscle inflammation, and life is not fun. Now, depending on how efficient your body is over time at getting rid of those depends on how long it takes you to recover from that exertion. And one of the neat things is by putting the best water in the body and the best fuels in the body, we can recover from that process very quickly and very efficiently.
So my experience with the Kangen alkaline water was actually pretty amazing. My husband came to me a day before my triathlon race, and he recommended that I drink the water. And I said, water's just water. And he said, just try it. So myself and 2 of my friends tried the water the day before the race and during the race. And I didn't prepare as well as I should have or could have, but I did drink the water. We all had our best race times. We were so impressed. We had less fatigue. Muscle soreness was almost nothing. Usually after a race, I'll come home and I want to sleep. We actually went to dinner and we had a full day playing with the dogs in the park, so it was really amazing that water is just not water.
Many healthcare experts now recommend that you drink a minimum of 1/2 of your total body weight in ounces of water each day. One reason that people don't drink enough water is that all too often water just doesn't taste very good, so we drink other beverages instead of plain water. Unfortunately, many of these beverages are polluting our internal environment and reducing our body's thirst mechanism in the process. And then there's the problem of how clean and safe the water is to drink. It seems that every few days we hear about another pollutant being found in our water. Chemicals are being put into the water supply by the water treatment facilities across the nation, most of which are not good for us. Then we learn that every time someone takes a pharmaceutical or flushes unused drugs down the toilet, they end up in our water supply as well. This problem has led to one of the largest new industries in America, the bottled water industry, which raked in $12 billion in 2007. In 1990, Americans bought 2.2 billion gallons of bottled water. Last year, we consumed 8.8 billion gallons, an increase of more than 300%. Industry experts point out a number of factors for this increase: the convenience it brings to our mobile society, our healthier habits and healthier lifestyles, and the perception that bottled water is safer and tastier than tap water. But is the water in those bottles really healthy to drink? Let's take a look at just one company to see what's happening in this growing industry. Coca-Cola has 30 plants across America bottling their Dasani water. The source of this water is the local municipality. And for your information, the FDA does not require that purified or bottled water have the source of the water listed on the label. It takes about 72 billion gallons of water a year worldwide just to make the empty bottles. The energy used each year making the bottles needed to meet the demand for bottled water in the United States alone is equivalent to more than 17 million barrels of oil. That's enough to fuel over 1 million cars for a year. This filtered water is then placed into plastic bottles and shipped all around the world. But even if this were the answer to our drinking water problem, it just created another major problem. Plastic bottles overrunning the landfills of our nation. The bottling companies want us to believe bottled water is the answer to our water problem so that we will continue to buy it. Bottled water has now become the second largest beverage segment behind soft drinks. In 2003, the California Department of Conservation estimated that roughly 3 million water bottles are trashed every day in that state. At this rate, by 2013, the amount of unrecycled bottles will be enough to create a 2-lane highway that stretches the state's entire coast. Bottling companies are even trying to make consumers believe by having the word water on the label somehow makes it good for you. Vitamin water is the worst health drink. Filtered bottled water is considered dead water by the Japanese and is also potentially full of organochlorines and other chemicals from the plastic containers it is sold in. Consider that fish don't do well in reverse osmosis or distilled water, and neither do your cells. Every person wants to feel better and have more energy, no matter how fit or unfit they are. This Japanese company, Enagic Incorporated, has discovered what many scientists are now telling us. The quality and quantity of water that we put into our body is extremely important for the peak performance and health we are all looking for to enhance our lives. We know that clean water is important, but researchers are now saying that there are additional traits to the best water for us to drink.
Luckily for us, there is a company now making a machine that will make the perfect water. And it helps our body act and operate in a more efficient manner. It carries that fuel and oxygen into the cell more efficiently, it carries the waste out of the cell more efficiently, and it just lets us function better.
Researchers have discovered that the most consistent trait of long-lived clusters of healthy people on the planet is the water that they drink.
Nature actually makes water in a couple of different ways, and we have rain falling out of the sky, and we also have the accumulation of snow high in the mountains. And we found from research that the most important water and the best water for all living organisms is that water that comes from the glacier and the snowmelt high in the mountains. And scientists have now been able to tell that there's a difference in the structure of water. The difference is really two things. There's a 5-sided or a pentagonal structure, and there is a 6-sided or hexagonal structure. And the 6-sided structure, many people call microclustered. The reason for that is because it tends to be clumped together in 3 to 5 molecules, where the 5-sided structures tend to clump between 15 and 100 molecules. And so the water doesn't break down as well. The surface tension is much higher.
In his book, The Water Puzzle and the Hexagonal Key, Mu Shixan, PhD and one of the foremost water authorities in the world, states, hexagonal water is energetically more powerful. It is the obvious biological choice. Hexagonal water moves easily within the cellular matrix of the body, helping with nutrient absorption and waste removal.
Last August, I was in a wheelchair due to knee pain, needing knee replacements. My knee pain had gotten so severe over 2 years, and my quality of life had virtually ended. A friend of mine told me about the Kangen water in September, and I ordered a machine. And the first thing that happened was in the first 2 days, all of a sudden 10 pounds just melted off my body. Well, that was pretty exciting. Day 1 to 9, no changes happened in my pain, but I woke up on day 10 pain-free, and a week later, I'm pain-free, and it's 6 months later, I'm pain-free. I can walk out of my house and I have my life back.